Now, the 3 to 6 year old is the aspect of us who holds our shame. I've never worked with anybody who does not have some challenging issues from this stage of development. And I think the reason why is because it's during the age of 3 to 6 when we develop our cognitive abilities. So whereas in the infant stage and the toddler stage, we are responding to our environment, it's more instinctual. By the time we become 3 to 6, we begin to develop the cognitive ability to assess what behaviors win the approval of our caretakers and what behaviors are shunned. So we begin to basically regulate our behavior accordingly. We begin to adapt. That's when we develop the adapted self. We begin to disconnect from our authentic self so that we can step into a self that's going to win the approval of our caretakers in hopes that they will take care of our needs. Now, this is really the core of when the codependent bargain is formed, because we begin at that stage, if we don't feel safe, we begin at that stage to manipulate our environment and to be very cunning in what we put out. And the hope is that we will be able to be good enough so that we can feel safe. 3 to 6 year old is when, 3 to 6 year old stage is when we begin to deal with issues like shame and perfectionism, which are the same side of, or opposite sides of the same coin. We deal with guilt. The difference between shame and guilt is that guilt is associated with what we do. Shame is associated with who we are. If we feel shamed as a child, then there's nothing we can do about that. We feel defected. We feel not okay. And so we try over and over and over again to be the good little kid that will win their approval. And it's all in hopes that they'll love us enough to feel safe. Now, whatever degree that exists between 3 to 6, we carry that into every relationship in our adult life, and we plaster that blueprint into the dynamics of how we relate. So that's the seeds of where the child of an alcoholic will develop behaviors that will attract an alcoholic. A child who's abused will get into relationships that have that blueprint. So this is really one that we need to clean up, because that creates that matrix that keeps this energetic, addictive attraction of everything that we don't want coming into our experience. And it's that 3 to 6 year old who needs to be healed in order to do so. So let's work with that. Again, there's a lot more information about this on the blog, and that will help you begin to identify this voice. If you want to go to that first and come back, then I encourage you to do so. All right, so we're going to move into the sequence. Now, we're going to deal with the shame and the need to be perfect, and try to move into a state of unconditional love, because that's really what the antidote is for shame and perfection. And shame versus perfectionism is the most lethal vibration that comes from this stage of development. All right. Even though I have a part of me who really experiences shame, and the minute I experience judgment, I collapse into that reality. And I feel that little again. So even though I have this real shameful child who believes he or she needs to be perfect in order to be loved, I now want to rescue that child. I want to give him or her the experience of unconditional love. And if I have to draw that from a God or a higher power or angels or the safety of an animal, I vow to establish a point of reference for this part of me to feel loved. So even though I have this shameful child within me who tries so hard to be a good little kid, in desperate need of being loved, I also have the adult within me, the god or goddess that I can draw from. And I choose to relate to this shameful child in a way that makes him or her feel safe. All right, so now let's do the sequences. Okay. Can really collapse into my shame. Feel so small. Anytime I'm judged or belittled or feel criticism, I collapse. I collapse with self-judgment, with self-criticism. I just feel so small. I regress and just fear being judged. And then I try to be really good, but I never feel good enough. I want to help this part of me heal. I want to draw on all my experiences when I have felt empowered, magnificent, deserving, even in the arms of God. I want to draw on this point of reference so that I can help my inner child who collapses, who out of fear sabotages me in so many ways. He or she doesn't want to be seen because of the fear of being judged, of being criticized. He or she wants to keep me small, keep me safe. But I am ready to begin to work with this part of self. I am ready to help him or her heal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, again, look at the blog. There's going to be a lot more information. Next week, after I go through the 7 developmental stages, we're going to look at all of these 7 developmental stages as applied to 7 or 8 different areas of concern. So by the time you finish this series, you're going to be intimately involved in how this saboteur, at whichever age you resonate with, and you may resonate with them all, how they interface with your adult life and sabotage your efforts to succeed. Thank you.